Hey guys, Happy New Year. Wanted to go ahead and we're now talking about EDC, and I wanted to go ahead and talk about pocket knives and to go from there. I don't know anything about knives. I don't know about steel or anything like that. But what I want to talk about is something I am comfortable talking about, and that is design. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to go over all of these knives, and I'm going to talk about what I think are the best design knives here, in my opinion, at least in terms of design, and go from there. And this is going to be a different slant from most knife kind of channels, because they usually go over like what is really best for this. But I'm only going to just focus on and tell you what I think has the best design in each of these knives, and to go from there. So, let's get started. So, this is the Daily Carry Co. Titanium Balisong knife. And so the way it works, I don't want to cut myself. As you can see, I never use this thing. But I think it looked from a point of design. I mean, watch, I don't want to get cut, but this is sick. From a point of design, this is a 10 out of 10. I think it's actually, from a point of aesthetics, that is an extremely slick looking knife. But in terms of safety, I think it's a little fiddly, but that's not my point. I think we're just going to go over knives and design. This, in my opinion, from a point of design, is a beautiful looking knife, and I would give this a high design score here. 10 out of 10, for me at least. So let's move that out of the way. The next knife I want to talk about, is this here. This is the Quiet Carry IQ 2.0. This is another knife that I think has a nice design to it. Also, it flips out like this, and then it unlocks this way. I never use this knife, but I just think it looks really beautiful from a point of design. For me, I think this is actually really minimalist, really sleek, really nice design. And if I recall correctly, the steel used on this it's really good. It's a really, really nice knife. I never use it, as you can see. Really sleek design. One of my favorites. This is the EDC F5.5. This, I think, is beautiful from a point of design. I think in terms of usage, the knife itself is not really practical because it's a little bit too bulky and big here. I don't know what I would actually really use it for. But I remember when I first saw this, I was like, dude, I have to get it. I think from a point of design, it's beautiful. You know what I mean? It was like one of the things that really caught my eye in terms of design. This is one of those knives I would definitely say is a high design standpoint kind of pocket knife in terms of like the way it looks, aesthetics. This is now this knife is almost like a copycat of this other knife here. In terms of design, I would say this one is pretty average, I would say below the bar in terms of like looks and design. I forgot what it's called, but I just think this is like whatever in terms of design. This is called I don't even know what it's called anymore, but there's that. This is the Chris Sebenza. There's a small and there's a large. This is, in my opinion, one of the most beautiful knives actually in terms of design. It's so it's striking. Like, I remember when I saw it in pictures, I was like, dude, like, I don't know anything about knives, but that looks beautiful. So I would say in terms of design, but the thing is, and what makes this knife actually quite amazing, is that it's not just a looker. This is actually functionally one of the best knives, period. Like, actually, for pocket knives. You're either going to go with the small or you're going to go with the large. Both of these knives are well regarded in the community. And in my opinion, these are, it just has a very striking design, very minimalist, very beautiful in terms of design. Like I said, I'm not going to focus on what I don't know, which is like basically steel and how good a knife is. But what I do know, and I do have some knowledge of, is design. I think this is a very beautiful knife in terms of design. One of the best designs, period, in pocket knives. This is the Chris Sebenza 31. And this is in small, in Magna Cut. And then this is the large. Now, I don't like the large because it's too large for my hands. And for me, I just find that the 31 small is better. But again, the Chris Sebenza knives are highly regarded in terms of design. Okay, this is a Benchmade knife but it's a knockoff. It's not even real, with Flytanium steel. In my opinion, in my opinion, this is more beautiful in terms of design compared to any actual real Benchmade knife. And we can agree to disagree, but it's completely modified. As in, you normally can't get this this casing with it, and it's so funny because one of the users out there pointed out and discovered, hey, you don't have a real Benchmade, you have a fake. But the funny thing is that when I actually brought this to the stores and we were testing it out, they're like, that's actually a pretty good knife. It may not be like S35V or whatever, it's probably D2, but it's still probably good enough. But in terms of actual like design, like this is I think it's a very sleek looking design. In my opinion, I think this is better than a default Benchmade knife you would normally buy from a store, is what I'm trying to say. So really beautiful design. The next knife I want to talk about, this is called the Kershaw. Fuck, I forgot what the name of it is called. I bought this because it has a really striking design to it. I like the way it looks. It's a very minimalist look, has that aluminum scale. I really like the look of it. Also, it's a crossbar lock. Really beautiful. And this is different because if you know Kershaw, like I've been looking at Kershaw knives for years, and their knives are ugly. This is the first time I've ever seen Kershaw actually step up their game. And they've been starting making a lot more sleek looking knives. And this, in my opinion, is one of their better designed knives out there. I forgot what it's called. I wish I knew what it was, but it's one of their newer ones. Definitely like the look of this one. The next knife I want to talk about is the Spyderco Delica. Now, I personally hate the look of Spyderco knives, but this particular knife, no, it's not the Delica. This is called, I forgot what it's called. I know that doesn't help anybody, but this is actually one of the more like gentlemanly designed Spyderco knives out there. Like if you actually understand and look at Spyderco knives and you look at this does not look like a typical Spyderco knife. This actually has a certain like sleekness to it that you usually don't see in a Spyderco knife. And I think actually from a point of design, that just looks really striking to me. Like I like the way it looks. Again, I don't know about steel. I don't know about ergonomics. I'm just talking about design. You know what I mean? Like I'm basically all about, design. and this is a very well designed knife in terms of aesthetics, in my opinion. So there's that. This is the Victorinox Bantam, and this is a basic sort of knife. I would say in terms of design, it's very utilitarian. But I like this, and I got this because it was so thin. I was thinking about using this as sort of like a portable setup, and then I realized after a while, I was like, I don't really need this. Like, I'm not gonna get. I don't need a knife really. So there's that. The next one I want to talk about, this is the TRN Neutron. In my opinion, at least the way it is right now, the design is ugly. I really don't like the look of it. This design doesn't pass for me, and I saw like they have different casings and stuff like that, but it's quite expensive. But even then, it doesn't match up to some of these other knives, which I think are much more beautiful in design. But this knife, I bought it because of hype. There was a lot of folks saying like, dude, the blade on this is so good. It's so good. It's this. And I'm like, well, I gotta get it. But I would say in terms of design, like, I kind of regret getting this. I just don't think it's a very good looking knife. It's like, whatever. Okay. The next knife I want to talk about, this is the Quiet Carry IQ. This is a beautiful knife. Like in terms of design, like that is like so sleek the way it looks, in my opinion. I really love the way it looks. To me, design wise, this is like 10 out of 10. I think, but you can definitely tell that they copied or drew inspiration from the Chris Sebenza, because look at that. They definitely drew inspiration. But what's really interesting, and I think this is actually something I've realized, I think something's going on with Quiet Carry, because Quiet Carry had two bangers. They had this one and they had this one. These two are beautiful looking knives. But I've noticed ever since then, now their knives kind of suck. Like the way they went out of making knives like this, and now they're starting to make more of these chef knives that look like chef knives. And I feel like either their designer left or they changed their whole approach to design. And I think this sort of design is better. And this sort of design they haven't done in like years. Like it's been like 6 years that they've done any sort of knife that even has anything remotely like this kind of design to it. And it's a shame because I think they used to be one of the more well-designed knives I've ever seen. But yeah, I think the Quiet Carry, this knife not only is well-designed, this is also one of the best knives, period. Like it's actually, and it's also, it doesn't stain. It's like, it's really good. Like it's one of the most highly regarded knives also. But what do I know? I've never used it. But I bought it, actually, that was one of my reasons. I was like, whoa, it's really well regarded. So there's that. The next knife I want to talk about, this is the something lamb's foot. So when I look at this was made by Boker. It's called the Boker's lamb's foot or something like that. I think actually in terms of design, it has a really sleek and kind of attractive look to it. They never say who designed it, but it is highly, I think Voxnaes, Jesper Voxnaes had a part in it because it's just too similar. Like that little divot right there, that little roundness right there, it's just too Jesper Voxnaes. And when I say Jesper Voxnaes, this was designed by Jesper Voxnaes. Okay, do you see the similarities, right? They do not list this designer on this, but I know, okay, if it smells like a cat, I mean, if it looks like a duck, it quacks like a duck, and it looks like a duck, it's a duck. This is Jesper Voxnaes' work, in my opinion. That's too, not only that, you can just tell, like, he really cares about ergonomics. Look at that divot right there. Look at the divot right there. Look at that. Look at that. This is Jesper Voxnaes' works, okay? But yeah, this is the lamb foot knife. Really well designed. I am a sucker for Jesper Voxnaes. I think he has a great knife design philosophy. Speaking of Jesper Voxnaes, here's I think this is another one by Jesper Voxnaes. So this is the Giant Mouse Riv. And I don't know if this was by Jesper Voxnaes, but I'm pretty sure it is. But again, it kind of has that really sleek and nice design to it. I don't think this quite has the same sleek look as the EDC F5.5. I think this just looks better. But this is something to check out if you're looking for something a little bit more compact. But design-wise, very, very sleek. You know, it's one of those things where design is very subjective. You know, everyone likes different things. This is what I like. You know what I mean? Yeah. Okay. The next knife I want to talk about, this is a Ray Lanico knife called the something Keen. And in terms of design, it's a very simple looking knife, like very simple, but it's very Ray Lanico. He always has this little rounded edge. And I like the way it looks in terms of, I like Ray Lanico's kind of design, but it's very simple. And I would still say I kind of like, obviously, more the Jesper Voxnaes knives a little bit more, but I had to get this when I saw it. And that was that. But I would say this one's okay in terms of design. This knife is another one by Kirkshaw. And this is when I realized Kirkshaw was really stepping up their game. Because as I said, Kirkshaw usually, their knives are very ugly. They have ugly writing. And I don't know what's going on, but recently they've been really stepping up their game in terms of design. And I think this knife is really nice looking. It's called Iridium. Very sleek looking knife. Just look at that. Like, if you have ever looked at all of Kirkshaw's knives, period, they don't usually make them this sleek. They definitely are changing the way they're approaching knives. Like even between this and these are two recent Kirkshaw knives. They are definitely changing something in design. It's grown up. It's aesthetic. It's nice. It's sleek. It's just. They definitely are taking cues. It used to be where they would have these really big, ugly fonts in their knives, and now they've cut that down. And now the blades are just like the design is really, really nice. So I really love what they're doing here. So there's that. The next knife I want to talk about, well, I might as well talk about this big one here. I usually don't get knives like this, but I found the design of this knife quite striking. So this is the Benchmade. I forgot something. But I found the design of this actually quite striking. I really like the way it looks. Very striking look. It's not something I have any particular use for, but I just think it has a very nice design to it. And I also find the ergonomics are actually quite good on this. I never actually did any a video on this in particular, but I really do think it actually has a really striking design. Now, they do have versions of this knife where there's orange here, and I think that looks really ugly. I like this particular version better without that orange, and it just, in my opinion, has a very nice, like, sleek design in a unique way. Doesn't have a sleek look like this, different kind of design, but it has a certain beauty to it that I really appreciate. So I really dig it. So there's that. The next knife I want to talk about, this is the Q-Bird or something. It's a really sleek design. When you look at it, it's kind of like a black square. And it's very cheap. It's called the QB. But here's how it is. The knife blade, if I remember, is 14-2. It's a good blade, actually. And it's actually a reverse lock right here. But it actually has a very sleek design in the way it looks. It doesn't have it doesn't look tactical or anything. It looks very just a really nice look to it, which is one of the reasons why I was attracted to the design of this. So definitely another knife. This is actually pretty cheap too. Definitely a knife you might want to check out if you're looking for something a little bit sleek. So yeah, that's that. And like I said, it closes up into a nice little box formation like this, which is really, really like sleek looking in my opinion. So there's that. The next knife I want to talk about, this is the, I forgot what this was called, but I really like the look of this knife. It's called the Pena X Series. Now, the only problem with this particular knife, which really bugs the shit out of me, is like they're discontinued entirely. Like, you cannot buy this in stores very easily. And I remember I actually had to buy this on eBay, and I wanted to get the black one. But because of whatever, you have to kind of settle at whatever colors are available. But I actually think the designs of this actually looks really nice. But there are many knives out there that kind of copy this design or have a similar design philosophy to it, where you can get the knife much cheaper. But I think the knife, like in terms of design, I really like the way it looks. But I really wanted black. So there's that. The next knife I want to talk about, this is the CRK Pete. Now this knife actually, I have a new one and a used one. This is a very simple looking knife, and it's very cheap, but it actually is quite elegant in terms of looks. I like the design of it. And it's actually very useful and cheap, and it's good. And it's not an ugly looking knife. It actually looks pretty good. So there's that. The next knife I want to talk about, this is the Big Idea Design something. Now, this knife is clunky. I actually don't like the look of it. But I remember I looked at it just thinking, that's a very unique looking knife, but in terms of actual functionality, it just feels very impractical. But I thought it was kind of cool how the metal goes like this angle. Very unique looking knife. But I think they definitely stepped it up with their other knife, which is I'm going to talk about soon. But this knife, I would say in design, I don't like it. And in terms of usage, I don't know if this is very useful. It just feels very clunky and stubby. But what do I know, right? So at least in terms of design, this is not really a pass for me. I think it looks whatever. But it did grab my interest because I'm like, it's a unique looking knife. And one of the reasons why I actually got this was, you know what I was thinking? I was actually thinking it was a Baby Banter with better steel. And it was exactly like the Baby Banter. So now let me talk about the Baby Banter. This is a very simple design that works. Like, I can't explain it. It's so small, ergonomic, and this design is so simple, but it works. I love how simple it is, and it's one of my favorite knives. It's just so simple. It works. And that's what I thought this was going to be, because it seemed to be like I couldn't tell from the pictures, but I thought like it was kind of going to be like the same sort of deal. But no, they're not. This is just a clunky brick. And this is actually, although it's very simple and kind of miniaturish, it works. I like it, you know? Okay, next knife I want to talk about is from the same company that did this. This is also by Big Idea Design. And this is called the Outlook or something like that. Now, this knife actually is beautiful. I love the way that looks. Very sleek. The profile of that is really, really sleek. I think this is actually one of the best, one of the most beautiful knives out there. It's just really, but again, I do think it kind of draws some inspiration slightly from the Sebenza sort of model. But you can't blame it. Like, I don't know if they were trying to do that or whether, but they're both really, really beautiful. But this is actually a really well-designed knife, and it is just really sleek. Definitely high scores on design on this particular one. So there's that. Next knife I want to talk about, this is I forgot what it's called, but it's just like this. It's funny because when I first saw this, I thought it was actually this was actually the very, very, very first pocket knife I ever bought. And this knife is terrible, and because because it's non-locking. The usage of this is very limited. What, opening boxes or whatever? I don't know, but at least in terms of design, I found it kind of a eye-catching design. It was very tiny, very unique. But I would say in terms of usefulness, probably not very high. The next knife I want to talk about, this is the Kizer Brat. Now, this knife, I actually don't like the look of it. I think it's clunky. I actually tried to return this, but Kizer was pretty stingy on, like, they would not, like, accept a return or whatever. Like, and I literally had everything. I had the box, I had everything, and I think I was, like, missing the stickers. And they're like, you're missing something. Would you take, like, they just wouldn't take it back. And I was like, this sucks. That's why, personally, for me, whenever I buy Kizer knives, I don't buy them off Kizer anymore. I buy them off Amazon, because Amazon is just like, are way more, I would say, nicer about returns. But the funny thing about this particular knife, and I actually don't regret buying it now, is that now, in terms of design, this is ugly. This is just a big clunky thing. But what is cool about this knife is that it's so effortless. Like, you don't even have to be good at knives to do this. It just easily flops in and out. You know what I mean? And this is kind of a brutish knife. You know, and I would never use it in that purpose. But in terms of design, ugly. I don't think it's very ugly. I don't even know why I bought it, but there's that. Next knife I want to talk about, this is the Trifecta or Tribeca by Giant Mouse. I actually think this knife actually looks really nice. It kind of has like a tuxedo kind of look to it. And the blade is Magna Cut. As you can see, I've never used it, but I think it just has a really nice look. But I still think the EDCF 5.5 just has that certain look to it, which kind of beats it. But this is a really nice looking knife, actually. And so there's that. The other knife I want to talk about is the, I don't know what this is called, but this is a very unique looking knife. A lot of people actually ask me questions about it, like, where'd you get that? What is that knife? And, like, I don't even know, like, how or what happened, but I know, like, this knife is hard to find. But design-wise, it looks sick. Like, I think it looks really cool looking in terms of design. I have no idea what I would actually use this for. I don't think you can cut vegetables or anything with this, but I think it definitely has a very striking design. You know, definitely love the way it looks. Yeah, absolutely. But in terms of like what it's actually used for, God, I have no idea. And then another knife I want to talk about here is this is the Opinel number 8 or Opinel number 7 or whatever. So this kind of has a very, actually, I don't even know how to pop this out anymore, but this has a very old school design, and it just, very old school, kind of like huntsman, woodsman kind of a knife. In terms of design, it's just very utilitarian. I don't think it's a very like super, super beautiful looking knife, but I wanted to check it out because it was just like the right size. And I liked that they had the pastel colors. When it was only wood colored, I didn't want to buy it. But when they made it more pastel colored, it definitely drew me in, and it was interesting. So there's that. And then the last knife, I would say, there's 2 more. The next knife, this is called the something Labrador. This knife is beautiful. I actually think this knife is really beautiful, and it's very cheap. This is like $60-something. But this knife kind of gives me that Sebenza kind of vibe to it, but it's cheap. This is like $60. It's called the something Labrador. Very cheap knife, but it's really beautiful looking in terms of design. I really like the way it looks. It's sleek. I mean, this is a very good looking knife in my opinion. 2 more, or actually no, 4 more we'll go over really quick. So this is something, I don't know what it's like, it's just a glorified razor blade thing. I think it looked nice. Like, it just looks really sleek. I never use it, but I just remember thinking like, wow, that looks really pretty. It is a very striking design, very minimalist. I like the way it looks. Yeah, but it's just a glorified razor blade cutter thing, but it's pretty. The next one I want to talk about, this is the Leatherman Skeletal. In terms of design, not very good. I bought this mainly because it's light, and I wanted to see if it would like replace some sort of setup. And then one day it like popped in my head, why am I carrying a knife? I don't need a knife. And so after a while, like I stopped carrying knives. But there's this. And then finally, I would say the last knife is the Altus. And I have like 5 of these. This is probably my most used knife. But because in terms of ergonomics, it just fits my hand like right here and here. It just has like the perfect ergonomics here, right here, at least for my hand. But it definitely has a very like simple design to it, really sleek, kind of like has a tuxedo kind of look to it. But I really like this knife. I mean, if they had the Altus in like Magna Cut and it looked exactly like this and it had the exact same dimension, I'd buy it right away because I love the ergonomics of this. It just fits like a glove. So, yeah, so that's everything here. And that's my 2 cents. All right, well, you guys have a great day.